Okay, so now we have our 40 stitches, and what we want to do is connect them, so we'll then be knitting in the round. And the most important thing is to make sure you don't twist your stitches. So hold your yarn that you're going to be knitting with to the back over here, and then just make sure all of the stitches that you cast on are facing towards the center, and then we're going to knit our first stitch. And again, you just want to make sure that there's no twisting going on here. And so we'll just start to knit, and then we're working in ribs, so the next stitch is a purl. In case you need a refresher, we're just gonna knit through that one, and then purl, and then we'll just do that all the way around the row. So here we are, we've just knit our first full round, and you can see that the stitches are connected by that little piece of yarn there, and eventually it'll be completely seamless and you won't even be able to tell where you started. So that's why I actually suggested in the pattern to place a marker for the beginning so you know when you finish with the round. And you can just make your own marker. Just take a scrap piece of yarn, just tighten a couple knots and tie it tight so you can fit it over your needles, and when you get to it, all you're doing is slipping it across the needle, and it's just there to mark. It's not going to be incorporated into the knitting or anything like that. So that's the beginning of our round, and then we're just going to continue working in knit one, purl one, rib, and we're going to do that for 4 rounds, and this is our second round, so we have 3 more to go. Alright, so I've just knitted my 4th round, and I know that because I can count my stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got my marker there to tell me that I finished the round. I'm just going to slip that over, and now I'm just going to be knitting for 10 rounds. The good thing about knitting in the round is that you can try things on as you go, which I love. Especially helpful when you're knitting a dress or a skirt or really anything. For example, I can see if this is going to fit around my head by just, taking it and kind of being like, okay, is it going to fit? Yeah, okay, I got it in my head. I mean, I can't put it all the way around my head because this circular needle is rigid, doesn't stretch like the knitting, but I can get an idea. So if you can't even get the bottom over your head, then just stop, start over. You might have cast on too tightly, or you might need more stitches. Either way, it's okay. This project's quick and you haven't gone that far. And it's good practice, eh? Okay, so I finished my 10 rounds of knitting. So your headband should look like this. Hopefully it does. So now we're just going to go back to ribbing like we did in the beginning. So we're just going to go back to knit 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch. We're going to do that for 3 more rows, and then we're going to bind off. And we're going to bind off in a rib pattern, and I will show you how to do that just in case you don't know. Okay, so I finished my 3 rounds of ribbing on the end, and I'm ready to bind off. So if you know how to bind off, it's very similar, but all you're going to do is you're going to knit 1 stitch, then you're going to purl 1, and then you're just going to grab that stitch and lift it over this one and off the needle, and then on you go to knit the next stitch. And again, we're just pulling that stitch over that one and off. And the only difference from what you may have learned is that we're binding off in a rib, so instead of knitting every stitch and binding it off, we're just still alternating between knit and purl as we bind off. And then you'll see this is the part we've bound off so far. You want to make sure you don't do it too tight, because as before, you want to be able to get your headband over your head, so you want your bind off to, have some stretch in it and all that. So just keep doing that until you get to the end. Okay, so I've just gotten to my last stitch, and as indicated in the pattern, you want to leave an 18-inch tail. We're going to use that for the bow part. So let's see, that's probably about 18 inches, right? Alright, so we're just going to cut that off. And we are just going to run it through here. Pull that tight. And there you have it. You have the first part of your headband.